Dr. Srivastav, let me put out a graphic for the benefit of our viewers as well, just to look at a comparison to, now there is no doubt about the fact that India is the vaccine hub for the world now, right? Let's put out that graphic where we talk about how much of consumption of vaccine is happening within the country compared to what we are sending out. Now look at that graphic. There is a more than half of the vaccines that are being produced here and at the cost of the taxpayers going outside the country. Don't you think this is something which should actually be exhausted within?
Yeah, so Sonal, you actually, I think, hit the right button. I also feel that I think most of us do agree that we now have to expand the vaccine usage and rollout to people irrespective of the age of 45 or less than 45, all the young people out there, because as you said, they could be super spreaders. Yes, they could also be infected. It is true that they may not be in that rung of being most vulnerable or most likely to have a bad outcome, because the initial rollout did take into consideration what was important in terms of demand and supply that we had, that the most important frontline who are going to get and who have to be there as frontline to be able to deal with the crisis, they can't go down. The second was, of course, the ones that would get the disease and would have a bad outcome. Said that though, now that we have enough experience in the rollout scheme, and we now have to balance out the demand and supply, and I think the demand has grown. With this second wave hitting us, we have to roll it out. I also would strongly believe that it has to go down to the irrespective, and we also having now more data coming in that it is pretty much safe. Pregnancy, lactating mothers and children are not immune to the disease or to a bad outcome. Said that, therefore we need to have these vaccines rolled out to all. And if you're looking at the domestic versus the export,
I think that's where the spike is happening at the moment. But you talked about the safety of the vaccine, and that's a very important point when it comes down to actually having people come on board. And let me bring in Nitin Sood on that one. There have been a lot of concerns regarding, no matter what the organizations say at this point, even world, there are at least over 20 countries which paused inoculating people from the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. There were too many questions about clotting, etc. At this point, can you just once and for all just make that clear to us? What, in your opinion, is the entire deal with clotting when it comes to these vaccines? And, we have the response from AstraZeneca where they say this could happen in any normal situation as well. The question then is, why is it not happening to the other vaccine brands? Why only Oxford AstraZeneca, Covishield as it's called in the country?
Sonal, you use the right word. It's been paused in, and it started with the Danish countries, and it's been paused now in many European countries. But if you look at EMA's yesterday's statement, they've said they've had a preliminary look and they don't find any link between the vaccine or any possible link between the vaccine and the thrombotic events. Sonal, what you have to realize here is that thrombosis is something that happens in the background population anyway. So the risk of thrombosis in the background population, we understand, is about a 1 in 1,000 risk. So thrombosis happens all the time. Now, from what I can estimate or guess, what has happened is we've looked very carefully at people who've gotten vaccinated and then found that 30 people or 35 people or people have got the thrombotic event.
In, say, Pfizer, for example?
Which is, honestly, I don't know the answer.
In a comparison, inoculated more people across the globe than AstraZeneca.
Yeah, that is a possibility, but honestly, I don't know the answer to that question. And I looked very hard to see why or where this started from, because it started from the Danish countries. I looked at the Danish health authority website, and they've just kind of put it out there that there's reported cases possibly linked and possibly not linked, and which is why they've paused, which means they're just going to look at it very carefully. But look, here's the deal. This doesn't help us as doctors in motivating our patients to get vaccinated. And vaccine hesitancy
like
is
WHO
something.
said, the benefits over here outweigh the risk, and that's why people should go out and get themselves inoculated.